Okay, first graders, we are doing something different after reading our story, and this is something we will start doing every week now. You are still going to answer some multiple choice questions about the story tomorrow, but today we are going to respond with what's called a free response, meaning we have to use our own thinking and make the connections and write it out. So you are going to be doing this in your journal. I'm going to be doing it with you on this separate piece of paper. I'm not going to use my journal just because this paper will be easier for me to mark and help you make connections and things, okay? So we'll see what the goal is on this task that you're given, okay? So something I want to make you aware of is that when you are doing your Nearpod here, so right now you're in the section responding to a question, and if you arrow over, you're going to see the story you just heard. Okay, so the whole story is there. So if you need to go back and remember some of the details, you can do that here as you are working on your writing. Okay, so this is going to start showing up every week as well. Okay, you can also always arrow back to where the story is being read aloud if you need reminders on what happened. Okay, so use the information you have here to help you be able to do your best. Okay, so let's switch over to the paper I'm going to use. Like I said, you are just going to do your writing in your journal, on a page in your journal. But I am going to do this page just to help you make some connections, okay? So your story this week that you want to answer, the question for, or the question you want to answer for this story is, what happened to Rabbit's tail at the end of the story? Okay, and we were listening to those question words at the beginning. So you don't need to write these down, but I'm going to write down the different question words that we had in that video at the beginning. We had who, when, and you are not writing these down. This is just for your thinking. Where, what, why, and how. Okay, those were the question words. Who, when, where, what, why, how. Now, our answer to the question we've been given should include really probably all of these things. So let's see which ones we already know, okay? So who are we talking about to answer this question? Remember, the question is, what happened to Rabbit's tail at the end of the story? Okay, who are we talking about? We're talking about Rabbit, okay? So we know who, it's Rabbit. Okay, again, you're not writing this down, you're just paying attention and thinking about these details. Let me get it closer so it's easier for you to see. Okay. When are we talking about? Okay, we're talking about the end of the story. Okay. Where are they at the end of the story? Okay, they're on the ice, right? So that's not found in the question. So we might not need to put it in our answer. Okay. What happened? Well, that is the question word being used. It's right here. It says what. So that is what we need to make sure we share. And then why and how will help us with adding details, okay, of what happened. Why and how tie into the what of the happenings, okay? So let's start here. I kind of wrote on top of that line, so I'm going to come here, but you can just go on your first line of your journal, okay? and we're going to say when we're talking about, okay? So at the end of the story, okay, at the end of the story, that's when we're talking about. So I'm going to write it down. And I'm going to use the capital because it's the beginning of the sentence. At the end of the story, okay, if you need to pause to make sure you have all those words, at the end of the story, okay, then who are we talking about, or what are we talking about? Okay, we're talking about Rabbit and specifically his tail. Okay, Rabbit's tail at the end of the story. Why am I putting a capital? Okay, in this story, not only is he a rabbit, but Rabbit is his name, so I'm putting a capital. At the end of the story, Rabbit's tail okay, did what? Okay, so we have our who and we have our when. Okay, and now we need to say what, and we can add details of where, why, and how to give what more detail. Okay, so we definitely need to say when this is happening at the end of the story because the story told, or the question included the when. Rabbit's tail, again, we got that from the question. And now we need to answer the question word what. At the end of the story, Rabbit's tail what? Well, since we're at the end of the story, I can just look here on the last slide that read aloud if I want it to be read aloud to me again. Or I can come over here and go to the last page because again, we're looking at the end of the story. Okay, so here it says, "Where is that pretty tail?" asked Fox. "It's under the ice," said Rabbit. "Help me get my tail up. I am stuck." Fox gave Rabbit a little push. Rabbit popped out of the hole. Have we said anything about the tail yet? Remember, we are answering the question, what happened to Rabbit's tail? Okay, but most of her long tail broke off. So what happened to Rabbit's tail? Most of it broke off. So let's come back here. At the end of the story, Rabbit's tail, what did it do? Rabbit's tail broke off. Okay, we have included the who that was in the question. We included the when that was in the question, and we answered the what that was in the question. We answered the what question that made this a question. Okay. At the end of the story, Rabbit's tail broke off. Okay. Now you are going to want to come down here and ask, did I start my sentence with a capital? Did we start with a capital? Yes, so I would give myself a check mark. I'm S for student, okay? So you would just be doing this a mental check mark if you aren't working with this paper, okay? But I want you to check these things off in your brain that you are doing these things in your journal, okay? So looking at your journal, did you do all the correct capitals? Okay, so I have a capital at the beginning. I have a capital R. So I would check off in my brain. I'd say, yes, I have the correct capitals. I have the name and beginning of the story. or the beginning of the sentence. Do I have my ending period? Do I have my ending period? No, so I want to check it. This is why we check our work. We make sure we put our ending period. So now I can say, yep, I checked that. Proper spacing. I have spaces between my words. Yes. Did I use my best handwriting? Yes. So I'm checking these things off if I've done them. If you're not using this paper, you're just checking them off in your mind and making sure you are thinking about these things every time you are answering a question or every time you're writing a sentence. Okay. And then they want you to think, did you answer the question? Okay, did we answer the question word of what happened? Yes, we said rabbit's tail broke off. That's what happened. And did we use information from the question and from the story to form our answer? Yes, because we looked for the when that came from the question, the who or what, excuse me, that came from the question, and we went back to the story to get our information. Okay, so I can say, yes, I answered the question, and yes, I used the question and the story to make my answer. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. Those are the things I'm going to look for when you turn this in. Okay, so we did this one together today. We're not always going to do them together. We'll do a few of them together, and then you'll start doing them on your own to show that you can answer a question as well using these tools and practicing these skills. Okay, good luck and happy learning.